Well, I said this morning that there was a lot of news this morning, and it just keeps on coming. Holy mackerel. We're going to look at Robotaxi. We're going to look at SpaceX. We're going to look at the markets today, which were a little bit wacko. We're going to look at the most important, number one thing that happened in the markets today, and most people won't even be paying attention to it. So Brian Wang is here because Larry Goldberg couldn't be here. Apparently,
Mhm.
he's in the air someplace. So, Brian,
Mhm.
thanks for stepping in for Larry tonight. You
You're
don't
welcome.
look,
I'm almost as bald as Larry.
you
So,
yeah, other than that, you don't look much
yeah.
alike. So, I want to talk first about the most important thing on the that happened today,
Mhm.
and that was the bond rally.
Mhm.
This is crazy. It's been a major hurdle to improved affordability of homes and other things. And the bond yields now for the last few months have been artificially about 40 basis points higher than they would have been otherwise. Last October, they were right where they are now, about 395, 396, and then
Mhm.
they shot up to 4.3, 4.4, touching on almost getting to 4.5, and it was all because of the Japanese carry trade unwind. And
Mhm.
we talked about that on this show before, but that is something that most people just have no clue.
Mhm.
What's a Japanese carry trade unwind? Maybe
Yeah.
1% of stock traders or bond traders. Well, bond traders probably know more about that than the stock traders. Anyway, but I checked with Grok, and he says, yeah, for now, the carry trade thing is not there, but that it could raise its ugly head again at any time.
Well,
So,
it always goes back because people don't know. It's basically like Japan has way lower interest rates than us. Their economy is very weak, so they have to keep things very low in order to try and prop up their economy and keep the activity going. So that means you could predictably say, okay, the currency is not going to get stronger, and then I can borrow at cheap rates, and then probably when I have to pay it back, I will have to I'll get an advantage on the currency because the currency will go down. So I'll save my interest and save on currency, and it's like paying negative 10% or something,
right.
right? So that's why it's so attractive. So obviously, people will think long term, they're still weak. I can still get negative 10%. I want to get back in. But they get like whacked because basically the Federal Reserve or the United States will say, this is an imbalance. You guys are too greedy, whack. So then they'll randomly whack them in order to force them to, oh, I over levered to get my stuff. It's because you know, they're the greed. It's just the same thing in 2008, right?
Yeah,
Which was I'm loading up on mortgage is going at 31 on
right,
it,
right,
right?
right.
So not just I'm getting, here negative 10%, it's like they'll lever up,
Yes,
right? Because of course I
yes.
can make way more money.
Yeah, and there for a while, the Japanese interest rate was down at 1%, 0.5%, even negative for a while. So you could literally borrow it at 1%, 0.5%, whatever, and turn right around and just buy treasuries, and make a carry trade, as they call it.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything. You're just borrowing
Right.
and reinvesting. So that deal is gone, though. They're no longer at 1%, and they've been raising their interest rates fairly substantially. I didn't check the data to see where they are, but as you point out, they're still lower than here and lower than most countries right now around the world. So that there's still an opportunity, but it's not nearly the opportunity that it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, so this means mortgage rates are now under 6%. This is obviously going to help the housing market. I think they're going to go much lower because as far as I'm concerned, the inflation thing is a dead issue. And if inflation is dead, then the 10-year comes down, mortgages come down. So we should start to see maybe we'll be looking at a 5.5 mortgage rate before too long.
Yep. Sounds wonderful.
Okay, all right. Second subject. The markets were unhappy though today. They were unhappy. Um,
Hmm.
Most people think it was because of the PPI print. Nah,
Hmm.
I don't think so.
Hmm.
I don't think that was it. Some people thought that maybe this was a continuation of getting out of the tech stocks, and that could be part of what was going on. We'll talk about that for a minute.
Mhm.
But the key thing I think is program selling.
Mhm.
This S&P is only down 2% from all-time highs.
Mhm.
So this is not like we got the VIX at 21 and we're only down 2% on the S&P. I'm sorry. This is not probably anything that has to do with something in the economy or worries about this or that. I think this is 100% the big boys are playing with the numbers and think that it's time to go down, and then they'll think it's time to go back up. And but anyway, let's talk about where we
So
are.
even though the S&P 500 is basically flat, not that much, right?
Down
The thing is,
2%. Yeah.
right down to percent. But the thing is, you have like Microsoft, Amazon down 30%, down 20%,
Yeah.
IBM down 13%,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Many other stocks that were the leading plays,
Right.
were up, and so it's a cycling. It's like I
Yes.
take this down, I buy this up.
Right.
So basically it's like going flat, it's like they're going like, I'm not making enough money. Let me create a stampede over here, and then I'll sell out here, make people go out, and then I'll buy back later on that. And then over here, I'm gonna drive it up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like, so the fact that the ordinary people, normies, are not in on that,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I can manipulate things where I can make an extra 10%, an extra 20%.
Right.
It's like, again, too tempting for them not to do.
Yeah.
But, long term, it's a weighing machine. But in the near term, you will get played,
Yeah.
right? So they're going to play you. So if you are able to predict and say, I anticipate this is how they're going to screw some people, right? Then you can say, okay, now I can get in. No, but if you're constantly saying this is some kind of efficient market
Mhm.
where this is reflecting real values,
Right. Right. Right.
you have not been in the market long enough.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So as you say, in the short term. So Nvidia is down to 177, $177 from
Mhm.
almost 200. That's over 10%. I think most people can do the math. Um,
Mhm.
and and I got to tell you, I am tempted
Mhm.
to buy some leaps. So as I
Mhm.
was thinking about that earlier today, and I've never owned any Nvidia, never really thought I would be interested in Nvidia, but
Mhm.
man, down 10% on Nvidia. Anyway, but then I thought to myself, what's the best leap play ever, maybe in history?
Mhm.
Oh, Tesla 2 years from now.
Right.
I mean, there's no way we're not going to have a huge robotaxi fleet 2 years from now.
Yeah.
There's no way in the world that we're not going to have optimists running around and selling maybe 1 million a year 2 years
Yeah.
from now. We might have a solar factory beginning to make solar panels. We might even have a chip fab that's almost ready to go or is starting to actually make a few units two
Mhm.
years from now. So no, I don't think I'm going to buy the Nvidia leaps. I think that July 2028
Mhm.
would be a great Tesla. It's not investment advice.
Right. Right. So I say that um, a lot of these tech stocks, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, all down or like that, should not be down.
Right.
Nvidia should not be down, right?
Right.
But there should and then is. Like, again, if you were, under the thesis of some level of manipulation,
Right.
right?
Right.
They had a great earning, they had a little bit of run up and stuff like that. And so then some people might be caught wrong-footed,
Yeah.
where it's like, I'm expecting it to go up. I thought it would go up on the great earnings
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah.
But then it goes the other way for a few days,
Yeah.
right? Again, because they can make it happen, right? And then they force other people who, like over margin or do something on the upside to cover. So they whipsaw them the other way and then they bounce back up again. Because it's the level of manipulation eventually would go against them,
Right.
right? But a few days of movement, some uncertainty, they may be able to play that. Again, it's not guaranteed, but that is relatively consistent with things that
Right.
are happening.
Right. Right.
So, but in terms of buying, it's like these things are on a relative discount. If you look, on certain technical things about like where it's in the channels and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like you are getting it to, some level of discount relative to buying it before. And then if you believe in the long-term trend and long-term stories of what they're doing, right? Like they're projecting $78 billion of revenue next quarter, which previously was 72 billion. So it's up and continue to grow stronger, right?
Yeah.
So the predictability around that is very solid for the next year. Then the question is there any kind of pause, any kind of temporary slowdown? But thinking again to your point about in 2 years, in 3 years, and 4 years, they will be making more chips.
Right.
They will be selling more chips. There is still the insatiable demand for chips, even if they drop from 55% market share on chip count down to 48%, right? They will. The thing is, when you do these chip counts, the Rubin chip is worth more on a money basis, worth more on a performance basis than a Google TPU 7 versus a Amazon Trainium, right? So their overall dominance is not in question, and they've held now the margin, dipped down to 72% margin, back up to 75% margin. When they have this market share up ahead, they're saying the business is still great even if they have 40% margin. Right. To start saying that, and they'll see a solid march down of margin from 75, 72. So far, no cracks, right? So if they hold 75%, and then you're saying that the valuation is still great with the 40% margin, that's basically saying when they outperform and do it, they will be worth double. And if they only hold the losses to 60% margin and then some level of share, right? They're still worth 50% more than whatever they're forecasting out ahead. So the level of forecast out ahead assumes a massive weakening of their business that is not in the cards. Right. In my view.
Yes. Not investment advice.
Again, not investment
advice. So, the PPI print, just to say this again, I did say it this morning, but it's very important. Everybody needs to listen to this, sincerely need to listen to this. The PPI print this morning was wildly impacted by an outlier. It represented something like 20% of the uptick. And it was business equipment wholesale. It wasn't even anything that's going to make retail. So it went up something like 14% in 1 month. So there's something wrong with the stat. Nothing goes up 14% in a month. Even during the inflation back in the 70s, we might, raise prices 10% in a month.
Is it AI equipment in there?
It could include AI equipment. The description was saying that it might include some things that have tariff impacts, but you still don't have people raising their prices 14%. Also, the prices of that category had gone down 8.7% last year.
No, why I asked that is because computer memory, AI memory, the DRAM memory is up like 20, 30%, right? So if the metric, if that fell into that bucket and was suddenly they're, selling twice as much memory and then the price went up 30% because everyone's, overpaying for DRAM memory or something like that, right? Then you could see a spike in that indicator, right? So I'm just saying that you have to know, I think to your point, you have to know what the source of that thing is.
Right. So if this is an outlier, if it's true and it's, I don't know, but what we do know is the rest of the PPI print was totally online. So people, and I don't think the market reacted. I think the stock market reacted to it early, but the bond market got it from day one. I mean, they never went up this morning. So that tells you, they always say the bond market, the bond players are the baseball players of the markets. They're the smart ones.
Okay.
So you knew that in high school, right? All the smart kids were the baseball players?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know that? Okay, that's right. They're always the.
Well, I'm originally from Canada, so.
Oh, that's right.
Far fewer baseball players, more hockey
players up there.
And they were not smart.
Yeah, because they've had their head bashed in so many
That's
times.
right.
That's
That's
right,
right.
and their teeth are gone. Anyway,
That's right.
so I understand you have a couple of things on your deck today, so you want to share?
Yes. Yes, I do. Okay. Okay. So we have, okay. So everyone looks at the uh, Tesla Robotaxi tracker
Right.
online. So there's these sites that are trying to count the number of Robotaxi, and
Hmm.
they say, 413 or some number like that,
Right.
like 313 in SFA area, and then 89 in Austin, right? And then they say, well, that means we only have 400, but um, before in January we said there was 270 or 250 on this counter, and then on the call, um, Tesla and the team, Elon and the team said 500
Right.
already in January,
Right.
right? And then they would go towards 1,000 plus this month, right? So why the discrepancy, right? I'm also going for some SpaceX IPO news, some other SpaceX and space news. So let me dive deep into this. Um, and just a reminder that right next big future, 35,000 articles, 1,400 of which have been cited by Grokpedia, and Grok says that I'm one of the top training sources on future technology. So you're literally talking to the root source of some of the stuff that you're going to get on the AIs, right? So just okay. So what do we do the count? So Tesla 2025 had to file to California um, California Public Utility Commission, something like that, and also to, I think, DMV, saying if we want to put cars and drivers into our robotaxi fleet, we have to register. Every person, every car, license plate, all that stuff, every person, name, social security number, we need to put that into paperwork given to the DMV on those things, right? We don't have to deploy them yet, per se, right?
Mhm.
But we filed all the paperwork for them.
Right.
To me, it's kind of like I'm filing the paperwork. I have to like set that car aside. I'm not going to get the license plate off that car and then drive around and do something else with it, right?
Right.
It's sitting in a parking lot or it's ready for them to use,
Hmm.
right? So then why aren't you counting them in the FBA area? FBA area, we're only getting like 300 something. So one is no one questions when Waymo says they have 200 Waymos in Austin.
Hmm.
Waymo said they have 200 cars in Austin. People say, oh, you must have 200 cars in Austin. You just told us that. Even though Tesla says, I have 500 cars in Robotaxi. And then people say, well, I don't believe you because, you're Tesla. And then you can, of course, lie, even though it's on a call where if you did lie,
Yes.
then you would be
Yes.
sued,
Yeah.
right? Anyway, so for some reason, people believe Waymo, don't believe Tesla. So Waymo says 200. What does the counters say that there how many Waymos there are? 144, right? So if you go, you can go into the tab and then hit Waymo and you look at all the license plates and you say it's 144 Waymos that we've counted, right? So if we know that there's 200 there, we're only counting about 70% of them, right? So based on that, you would upsize the number of of Teslas in
Mhm.
both Austin and the Bay Area. But even more than that, so one of the things with the filing, when you want to remove the drivers out of the Bay Area, you have to file with 50,000 autonomous miles.
Right.
So they have to pull the driver in order to get the miles that would count towards uh, the 50,000 safety miles, right? I'll go into that in more detail later. Also, some other stuff coming where Grok is added in. You already can do some talking to the car. You need to have your Wi-Fi and a data subscription in order to properly do it the really best way, which of course every robotaxi does have.
Right.
And then some firmware stuff where they can add even more voice controls, and that will make the cars even safer. Um, Other stuff about China doing some stuff at FSD. I had some other stuff. Okay, so counting
Oh.
the Waymos versus counting the Teslas. So you have your Waymo on the left with its license plate, and you have a Tesla beside it, right? Driving around in Austin, right? Do I know that that Tesla is a robotaxi? I do not know if that Tesla is a robotaxi. That could be just a regular Tesla, right? Because you have to look on the side to see whether it says Robotaxi or not on it,
Right.
right? So now I don't know whether that one's another thing. That's, and then how do I know? So in general, it's only when you get a ride. And actually, I think even though the Waymo is so visible, in general, I think when someone pulls up their app and gets a ride, Uber ride, and a Waymo comes up, then they see, oh, that's a license plate, and they submit it to the site. And then only a fraction of the people submit it to the site, right? Then the deduping, getting rid of duplicates, is done automatically on the software end, right? So then people just keep submitting, but then it's like, how many do I run across, right? So even though there are thousands of rides given per day, like there would be people in a Robotaxi, if there's 200 of them, there'd be people getting into them like 20 times a day, right? Every one of them, right? But people are not submitting on a bunch of them because most people do not bother to use the app and say, I must tell everyone else that there's a Waymo or a Tesla with a particular license plate. Right?
Yeah. They don't even know. They don't even know there is such a thing as a tracker.
Right. So then, you know, this is harder to identify. You're going to miss more of them.
Sure.
Right. So then if there's all those cars and you wouldn't want to use them, Tesla would want to use all those vehicles. I got 1,655 definitely ready to go on the vehicle side.
Yeah.
I've already got nearly 800 people going on it, right?
In California alone, right? In California
alone, right? So then if I am going to use them, and if I file the paperwork on the next 800 drivers, so now I have, 1,600 drivers and 1,600 things, I could be using them all. One, why am I waiting 2 months to put them in play? It's because some of them might be doing testing, so they're not actually getting paid rides, right? So then if no one gets in for a paid ride, they're not going to jot down the license plate and submit it, right? Because it's, it's just testing. And then you're not going to spot a testing vehicle around. They occasionally spot them if the testing vehicle has extra funky electronics on it to say, hey, I'm a testing vehicle. If it's an ordinary testing vehicle, you wouldn't do it unless they had no driver inside.
Right.
But then even then, it's like rare. It's like, do I really notice every car with no driver inside? Right. Anyway, so those are the issues around counting. Another thing around counting is Tesla has a few hundred, at least 100 vehicles giving rides to employees. Employees in Fremont, California, except the Bay Area, as well as employees in Austin, right? So this fleet of 1,600 may be using those. And again, I don't think employees are submitting license plates on their Tesla vehicles, right? So thus, you can have far more vehicles in play doing Robotaxi things, official Robotaxi things, giving rides, doing stuff that are not showing up in the count, right? So my estimate is at least 600, if not 800, fully operating vehicles in SF Bay area, right? At least 200 in Austin, so then at least 1,000, right? And the capacity of potential vehicles is at least 2,000. The 1,600 left over in the Bay Area and 400 in Austin. And then also there's 200 Cybercabs in the factory in Austin, because Joe Tegmeyer went in and said he saw a few hundred, at least 100 Cybercabs, and we know there's at least 25 Cybercabs roaming around in the various things. So 2,200 capacity there, ready to go into play, right? So again, if the issue is not can they build them? They can. They can build them by the hundreds, right? It's would they put them into the fleet and use them, right? And one, I'm saying that I think we're already at the 1,000, which they said they'd be at. They had 500 last month. I think that they're at 1,000 now. I think they're there, right? So fully there on the 1,000, and they're doubling every month. So 500, I think that they were correct in that. 1,000, again, it's like, of course they're correct. They were telling the truth, right? And then 1,000, and now we're getting to 2,000 next month, and then go to 4,000 the month after, right? Having 3 months of straight up doubling is super duper easy,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So they have that capability and they are proceeding along that path. So thus my analysis is that they were and are telling the truth, and this is how that breaks down.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Yeah, good. Yeah. I think we kind of touched on this earlier when they came out with the 500 number. It's
Yeah,
like, okay, why is the tracker, half of what they're saying? So
right.
yeah, good, good. All right.
So this explains exactly the mechanism of the tracker and why there might be off. Okay, hardest part in the wall, counting by getting a ride and actually submitting the plates. So that's the issue. Some separate stuff. Do you have anything else you want to discuss about Robotaxi? I can then.
There was something that you had on the slide that you touched on briefly. I thought it was more important than the brief mention.
China local AI data center stuff. In an interview that Elon had at Giga Europe, Giga Berlin, he said Europe approvals likely March 20th
Right.
for Netherlands.
Mhm.
The delays in the tax parameter for opening the mall show that Tesla is prioritizing safety over rushed releases. Some people are somehow, saying that, they're going to rush the release of that. China having local data centers means that FSD will be getting better.
Mhm.
They will get approvals at some point, and
Mhm.
then that will be, I think, as uh, revenue driving on the FSD subscription side as on the US side. I think China will rapidly catch up on that,
Mhm.
particularly if you can talk to the vehicle completely. If you
Right.
get rid of, if you can say, okay, now you can text on your phone and drive and all that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
even separate from the robotaxi thing. A prior slide,
Yeah, the one with remove
the
safety.
Grok voice.
Oh, yeah. Talk to me more about the California DMV. So I'm so confused.
Right.
So my thought was that these miles that they're driving right now, where they just have a safety driver, and the safety driver only interferes if there's some reason to interfere, that
Mhm.
those would be autonomous miles and would count for the 50,000. Because otherwise, you'd have to say, okay, I'm going to put 20 cars or 50 cars out there with no driver
Mhm.
before you could log them. So I don't know. Do you think that you actually have to have 50,000 nobody in the car miles?
I'm not totally sure.
Okay, me either. But anyway, I just think that's been confusing me for months.
Right. But I know, like, if you think back to when um, Waymo, Zoox, and
Yeah,
Cruise
yeah,
got it, they got it with safety drivers loading the car. They had
yeah.
millions of miles, but it was with safety drivers
Safety
in the
drivers,
car.
yeah,
They did not officially pull safety drivers for years. So I think the
yeah,
safety driver miles for the purpose of regulatory approval count.
right.
That would be my in general thing.
Okay.
But
And
some of that, yeah, yeah.
and the other story on California, of course, in the middle of the week was that there must have been 40 articles about this. That California, I mean, that Tesla had not logged any miles with the state officials. And
Mhm.
of course, if you want to be nitpicky about what logged means, that
Mhm.
means they didn't turn in any miles, but it doesn't mean they didn't log, they didn't do the miles. They've done millions and millions and millions of miles in Northern California, but
Yeah,
they didn't log them. They didn't turn in a log to the state officials yet. And my
right,
theory,
right. So they're logging all the miles,
right,
right? All the 8 billion miles, they're logging all of them,
right,
right? Your miles, my miles, Robotaxi miles, all the miles are being logged, right? So your point is they will eventually submit a letter that says, hey, look at my log, look at my log file. And by the way, here's the zip file with all my files. And then you can go to the link where you can download all the rest of it and stuff like that,
mhm,
right? So all the records are there for sure,
yeah, yeah,
right? And then they will then say, okay, here it happened. And then here's the ones that count, here's the ones that don't count, all the safety, blah, 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 right? So they'll give them the whole thing, right?
yep.
So the fact that they, said it wasn't submitted is at most semantics and possibly wrong, right?
I
The
think I
fact,
think it's I think it's I think it's right that they haven't submitted them, and I think part of the reason is because they don't agree with their methodology. And
mhm,
so they're trying to convince them that the right method is to look at their entire package and
mhm,
say, oh, you're 10 times, you're 5 times, you're 3 times more safer than human.
yeah,
This method that you're using is antiquated of,
mhm,
of requiring 50,000? I mean, so few miles. You want me to do
Right.
50,000 miles, but you've got this long list of things that you want me to do in addition to turning in those 50,000 miles about every single interruption, every single time somebody, decided not to, anyway, there seems to be an argument going back and forth. And so I think that's why they haven't submitted the quote miles, the 50,000 miles yet.
So in terms of going the 50,000 miles and getting full permission to do paid no driver
Right.
miles, right? 'Cause that's the reason, right?
Right.
So one, there'd be a 30-day period, after you do submission, blah, blah, blah. And then they could take 3 to 9 months to make their decision,
Mm,
right? So if they want to drag their feet on it, they can do that. So then, but does Tesla want to say, I must start forcing the clock now? I want to get my letter officially in. I want to give you my log file, right? So why don't they do that? Why don't they do the filing, whatever? It's because they're still going step by step on their own level of making it all safe,
right.
right? I think it's under Tesla's control around that. It's why we only have 8 or 10, 10% of the vehicles in Austin
Mhm,
without
mhm,
safety drivers, safety monitors, or anything,
mhm.
right? Is because they're dipping their toe in. They're concerned more about their own safety
Right.
because whether they have full permission with no safety monitors in June or whether they have it in September or whether they have it in December is utterly meaningless to Tesla,
Right.
right? And the fact that they have a driver in there doing the safety monitoring and checking stuff,
Hmm.
that doesn't matter. I'm paying a salary of a guy doing whatever. It's like, yeah, so whatever. It's 1,000 employees. I have 100,000. I have 50,000 employees. I have 1,500 people doing this 1%. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
what people can do, right? And then, so then this is irrelevant to them,
Right.
right? And it doesn't in any way slow down the revenue ramp. They're still giving the miles out.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's um, it's not like Elon saying, yeah, this is an important thing to take on the dashboard. The other guys are rushing because like I'm only making money once I start doing this thing, and then this cost is actually meaningful to me, right?
Yeah.
Tesla's saying, I spent $2 billion on the Cybercab factory on top of the $10 billion on the Giga Austin,
Right.
right? So I
Right.
spent $12 billion on that. And then I'm making a bunch of cars and a bunch of them are sitting parked, inside or beside the factory, right? Um, so they got billions of stuff, and they put $20 billion worth of gear, hardware 3, hardware 4 cameras
Hmm.
into a fleet of 10 million vehicles,
Right.
right? So that's all they're ready to go, not being fully utilized,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So it's like I'm ready, it's there, versus other people who do not have it deployed. So
Sure.
it physically exists. When I turn it on, I'm gonna be making a crap ton of money,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? So it's the ramp is happening and they're proceeding apace,
Yeah.
right? So the fact that they're saying, well, by not doing this, I'm making $20 million less, you know, it's like it's irrelevant to them, right?
Yeah.
So that's why they haven't submitted. That's why it's not on their critical path.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
If it was, they would do it. Yeah. No,
if it was, they would do it.
I don't have any
Yeah.
doubt. So you had some really big SpaceX news.
Yes. Um, so um, so NASA made a change where they said that um, the Artemis mission, the one to fly and land on the moon, which is Artemis 3, after Artemis 2 is still waiting to go up, right? So that's a mission to go fly around the moon. Um, so they said for Artemis 3 that they're going to bring it up to 2027, that they're going to try and fly Space Launch System, which is a rebuilt um, Apollo rocket, but using space shuttle parts, which they've been trying to do for like 20, 30 years. Um, and they're going to say, we're just going to go low Earth orbit. We are not going to the moon,
Mm.
right? So that first Artemis 3 next year is basically testing what we have ready to go. That the getting a Orion capsule, which you see on the end here, up into orbit, and then having that meet up with a SpaceX Starship, right? So they'll meet together, dock, and do some work together, and then land, but in low Earth orbit, versus having to go to lunar orbit,
Mhm.
200,000 miles away,
Mhm.
which would involve refueling the Starship 7, 8 times or whatever it would be, right? So now only one launch of Starship is involved in doing this test next year. What are we testing on SLS, Space Launch System? We're testing that they do not have their dumpster fire of a leak problem still happening. Okay, so Artemis 1 had 6 leaks, hydrogen, helium stuff, right? The stuff is too cold, it's difficult to leak, difficult to stop it from leaking. Leak problems also occurred back in the space shuttle days as well, right? But the Space Launch System for Artemis 1, the one mission that went off, had 6 major leaks, okay? Where they said, okay, wet dress rehearsal, we're gonna try and fill things up and do stuff. Oh, leak, gotta go back and fix it. 3, 4 times they did that. And then they said, okay, we passed the wet dress rehearsal, but you think, okay, now it's great. Now I passed one test, I'm now reliable. They get onto the launch pad, leak, scrub, go back. Get it back onto the launch pad, leak, scrub, go back. And then, so they had like 6 of those. And then now, and they had other scrubs for weather after that. So then we get to Artemis 2, the one we're waiting for now, right? They've had 2 failed wet dress rehearsals. Once for a hydrogen leak, once for a helium leak, right? And again, this is persistent problems with the space shuttle equipment, which have gotten worse apparently.
Yeah.
It was always unreliable, always something that could cause a leak for the space shuttle days, but now it's less reliable. One explanation for that is some of this gear is 20 years old,
Right.
right? So, it's like I got a car in my driveway for 20 years and I bring it out and I'm going to try and use it, right? Although they probably have had to update it, right?
Sure.
But then it's been 3 years, 3.5 years since we flew Artemis 1, right? So now we're going to try and fly Artemis 2. Again, completely different hardware because we threw away everything in Artemis 1 is all in the ocean or whatever it is, right?
Right.
But now we have to use it again. So anyway, so if I launch next year, I'll get this one off this year sometime, hopefully in the next month or 2 or 3 months, something. And then next year we'll try and launch Artemis 3, a second SLS,
Right.
right? So then it's a question of, can it get through all the wet dress rehearsal, hopefully in one shot and get it done,
Right.
get it onto the launch pad and then launch without having a scrub,
Right.
right? That would be, let's try it. But instead of waiting for 2028, 2029, when I've had like 3, at least 2, maybe 3, 4 failures this year,
Mhm.
and then in another 2 years, I try and do it again and have more leaks and problems then. But it's like, you have not proved reliability. Let me try and prove reliability of some kind next year.
Right.
And then SpaceX, you're ready to go without refueling. Let's do it. Let's put these 2 together and actually do another test. Because clearly we need to test more. Clearly
Yeah.
we need to try and use this stuff more, right? So that's what's going to happen. Then they'll launch the year after, hopefully, with a good launch this year, next year, and then hopefully in the year after. Now we go to the moon and do a refueling and then go around and then land with the thing onto the moon, right? And that would involve, perhaps only 5 refuelings of the Starship, because then we'll be having already next year we should have version 4 Starship,
Mhm.
which would have 200 tons, and that would only need 5 refuelings.
Mhm.
So, but then we don't have to worry about whether version 4 is ready for next year because all we're doing is just going to orbit.
Right.
So
Right. So in the last couple of days, I've seen 2 things, I think both from Elon with regard to the moon. And one of them, he said, hey, we are on the same page as NASA. We want to get to the moon.
Right.
We also heard Elon say, I'm not going to, we, SpaceX, are no longer going to think about Mars for now. I'm sure they'll have some parallel things going on, but our first goal now is going to be getting to the moon. Is SpaceX going to separately try to get to the moon with some kind of effort, or are they only going to work with NASA?
No, they're going to do way more than NASA owns.
Okay.
They will do over 100 times, if not 1,000 times more than
Okay.
NASA plans to do on the moon,
Okay.
right? The reason the moon is so important is because space-based AI data centers
Right.
are becoming more
Right.
important,
Right.
right? But the moon part of it, and in that interview in Giga Berlin, Elon said that he'll build a city, a factory,
Factory.
a
Yeah.
giant factory on the moon by 2046, within 20 years,
Yes.
right? He plans to do that way before that. He's being,
Yeah.
he's lowballing his time for that, right? So why is suddenly the shift? Oh, people say, oh, he can never, haha, Elon, he was trying to go to Mars, and then now he's pivoting to the moon. He didn't know what he was doing, all that kind of stuff, right? The reason was previously he was saying Mars has a literal ocean of frozen water.
Mhm.
And if I want to make a secondary civilization
Mhm.
where I can, where if the starships stop flying,
Mhm.
that we can get it so that the Mars city will survive no matter what. Like we can get hit by an
Self-sustaining.
asteroid,
Yep.
right?
Self-sustaining.
Self-sustaining. We can lose the Earth, asteroid, whatever hits
Right.
us,
Right.
and then the people on Mars would be able to survive even if we're gone.
Right.
That was the stated goal. And
Mhm.
Mars can do that. The moon, closer, but it doesn't have enough water, right? It has
Mhm.
some frozen water around Shackleton crater and up and down, but it's not, it has no atmosphere. So everything I build has got to be underground, right?
Mhm.
I can make it underground. I got to, do the shielding. There's a bunch of things why the moon was more of a fixer-upper to
Mhm.
get to the point of totally self-sustaining for
Mhm.
that purpose,
Mhm.
right? And so thus, he's saying Mars, even though it was more difficult to get there,
Right.
it would, for the goal of Earth 2.0,
Mhm.
civilization
Mhm.
2.0,
Mhm.
that goal was that. So that was the purpose, and that was why I'm thinking about, right? But now why the moon? The moon is because trillions and trillions of dollars, right? Because if I launch 100 gigawatts of space data center, that's worth roughly $2 trillion.
Right.
If I can do a terawatt from the Earth every year, that's worth $20 trillion, right? So insane amount of money is really focusing him on saying, holy crap, insane amount of money, right? And the moon part of it is after I get to 100, already making 2 trillion launching
Yeah.
from Earth, maybe on the way to 20 trillion launching from Earth. Then the moon lets me go another 10x. Now I go to 200 trillion just by making the satellite bodies and the solar cells on the moon. Not even the chips, not even the other stuff, just the shell of stuff that's heavy. I make 90% of the mass on
Yeah.
the moon in factories in mining, right? And because I got all these 10,000 launches doing this 100 gigawatts, I can land 40,000 tons with a 1,000 or 2,000 missions, including refueling, and land it on the moon. I can do that like every year,
Yeah.
right? So then it can easily make this huge capacity on the moon, right? So that as soon as possible, I can then scale up to $200 trillion per year
Right.
of space-based AI, right?
Mhm.
And if I can make the fabs on the moon,
Mhm.
then I can go up to $2,000 trillion, $20,000 trillion from the moon capability.
So
So
we have to learn a new word, quadrillion.
yes, quadrillion, yeah, 20 quadrillion dollars, right? Or, or million billion or whatever. So the insane amounts of money is why he's doing that.
Yeah.
And then he's thinking, if I do that, I'll have 100,000 Starship launch capability.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can go, instead of a fleet of 1,000 Starships to colonize
Mhm.
Mars, I can go there with 100,000 Starships. I could be making, if I already made a factory to do all 1 billion satellites, I can build factories on the moon to make my rockets and everything else, right? I can make liquid oxygen stuff on the moon
Sure.
for 2/3 of the fuel, right? So if I have that capability, I will catch up on my 5-year delay going to Mars,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, and then I'll do whatever I want with Mars. Because again, and then it's like, well, you won't be able to have a NASA budget. 20 quadrillion dollars is 1,000, no, it's 1 million times the budget of NASA,
Right, right.
right? So all of what NASA does is utterly meaningless.
Yes.
It's like, oh, I lost a 3 billion contract for NASA.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of contracts, I
Mhm.
understand there was some updates on the IPO today.
Yes. So Bloomberg is reporting that the confidential filing of the IPO is as soon as March. So right now we're like days from March. It was March 1st, but probably not going to be March 1st. So they're saying the confidential filing means that you do the paperwork, you fill it all out. It's not public, but you submit it to the SEC, right? So they're saying that this should happen as soon as next month. So if it's middle of next month, it's like, roughly about 2 weeks away. And then, so this would be on track with a June IPO. You'd have to go back and forth. It's not like SEC says, first draft of the paperwork, great, let's go do it, right? They'll send it back and say, make these changes, do some stuff, right? So there'll be some weeks, so it could be April that we go with the public IPO paperwork. It could be May, right? We don't know, right? But clearly, Elon, SpaceX want to go as fast as possible on this thing. This kind of leak release is saying that, hey, this is we're
Yeah.
serious as a hard attack. This is going to happen,
Right.
right? And then there's rumors again from other people that the Bloomberg report is talking to, saying that the valuation should be over $1.75 trillion, above the 1.25 trillion of the merged XAI and SpaceX. So then the SpaceX portion of that would be like $1.4 trillion dollars, if that was the case. But we don't know the number, right? And then so when the final paperwork drops, it will say date, so June 15th, for example, or something.
28.
And it will also say the expected price. Although the expected price can go up or even down to potentially, depending upon how over undersubscribed they are.
Right.
Can they convince people to do the buying of it,
Mhm.
right? So they're incentivized to give out all the good news. Plus, they will have to release financials on
Right.
XAI and SpaceX as part of this process.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And of course, the June date is June 28th. I mean, if Elon, he seems to be very confident that he's going to do this on his birthday. So,
right. So there's all kinds of dates around June, July. There's June 9th, which would be another one of those 6-9 things. That's what
oh, yeah,
Alexander Mertz was saying.
yeah.
So 6-9, 6/28. There's also that July 4th
Oh, yeah, that's
thing,
right. The same day as the
250th anniversary of the United States. So, there's a few dates around that time where you
I
want
think
to do
he's going to be 55, right? So that's double nickels. I don't know
it.
if that means anything to him or not.
Right. But I don't think if he could go 2 weeks earlier or a month earlier, he's not going to say hold it off for that date, right? He's saying, okay, we're ready to go. Let's do it,
Yeah.
right? So, but clearly they're pushing toward that. Again, not investment advice,
Right.
but it's looked like it's on track to happen.
Well, I wouldn't be a very good host if I couldn't take you saying not investment advice for the third times and say, but you are giving investment advice now as your new business. So
Don't get me in trouble on this kind of stuff. But yeah, yes, for
no,
people can have meetings.
the things he
Yeah,
said were not investment advice. But if you're
but
putting
but
them
you
up
can
front,
give real investment advice.
yes.
Yes, you can give real investment advice in a private thing if you're a accredited investor, and then we can go talk about it. Right? Yeah. So I can give you all the stuff which I may not be able to say here that I could say there and discuss. If you had questions, what I really think about whatever, and then I can tell you.
So, and every single day, every single show, every time I put up a YouTube video, the information is down below there of how you can get in touch with Brian. You've got to fill out a little form, and then he'll give you a phone call. So, anyway, and and there's a possibility that I'll make 50 cents or a dollar, depending on what happens. All right, Brian, what else we got today? Oh yeah, so Tesla finished moving higher pretty
Mhm.
substantially at the end, and it wasn't the entire market, but it was pretty interesting how the day ended because we had Tesla substantially moving up at the end. We had Google in an identical move. We had Meta in an identical move. And we had most of the Cathie Wood stocks having that same uptick. However, at the same time, we had Apple going down. We had Nvidia continuing down. We had, I mean, it was like it was such a funny ending of the day. And the markets,
But overall, Tesla was really far down.
oh yeah, oh yeah, it was down
It was
1.49,
beaten up a lot, and then
1.49.
it had a little bit of recovery at the end, kind of thing.
Right,
To
right.
your point, and just to be clear of
Yeah,
what happened for people who
yeah,
didn't pay
yeah.
attention to it.
But it wasn't down as much as Apple, which is down 3%. Nvidia was
Mhm.
down 4.18 after being down 5.5 yesterday. Holy mackerel. And Microsoft was down 2.24. So there's definitely some pressure on the Mag 7.
I wanted to also briefly talk about the whole part of the story around Nvidia, right?
Okay.
So there was that whole Citrini research thing where basically they made this a total story around, but a narrative of like I'm giving a letter from 2028 saying what's happening, what happened in terms of like all these jobs got destroyed,
Oh,
and so the AI was great, but it destroyed all the jobs, and so the economy went bad,
yeah.
right? And then there was some news related to that where like IBM would drop 13% because Anthropic had some improvement of how they could monitor, how they could translate COBOL, the main old business programming language,
Mhm.
and that they could think, well, they could take billions of dollars per year from IBM because they could snap their fingers and convert all the
Right,
COBOL.
right.
So I've already said that that's ridiculous, but a bit more about how that doesn't work, and then how also the jobs thing doesn't work either. So specifically around IBM is that the technical capability to convert the COBOL programming language into something else
Mhm.
has been in hand for a couple of decades or more, right? They could do it anytime they wanted to, right? If they wanted to.
Right,
They didn't risk it.
right,
Why?
right.
Right? It's because not only is it the programming that's there, but that thing at the heart of their companies for 50 years, doing the ATMs and other things,
Mhm.
is connected to everything else. Every other system, every other report, all the business processes are all off of that,
Yeah,
right? So if I take it out, I have to make sure it's like I'm, removing your heart and then making sure all the other arteries and other things aren't broken,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So understandably, a lot of the business leaders are saying, I'm scared to do that.
yeah,
I'm diffusing a bomb when I don't need to,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
they're not going to do that, right? They haven't done it for a long time. They're not going to do that. And they slowly chip away at it, saying,
yeah,
okay. And the other thing is the gain from them doing it, because it's
yeah,
$6 billion per year to IBM. It's not $6 billion a year to one bank.
yeah,
It's like a few $100 million to them.
yeah.
It's like a rounding error to them.
Well,
They don't care.
the ROI has to be there. So when you get into that kind of an infrastructure change in your company,
Yeah,
and you're saying, okay, could potentially be disruptive.
yeah,
I'm going to have to fire a bunch of people, which I don't want to do anyway. We're going to, and there's always the possibility something goes wrong, and it could go really wrong. So now,
right.
okay, balancing that out is what's the return on investment? What
Yeah,
is being promised in terms of a savings on an annual basis that will make it worth my while to take those three risks? And
right.
that's a big move. That's a huge move.
Right. And basically it's like 200, $300 million per year max on
Yeah.
these guys, right? So it's like I could do that, or I could take AI and figure out how to make $1 billion more
Right.
super easy,
Right.
right? Or $10 billion more,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So ripping stuff out and doing a demolition in order to rebuild everything is, especially for something so fundamental
Yeah.
to what they're doing. So
Yeah.
then it goes back to the tree thing that AI is going to solve everything, and then we're going to fire everyone. That that thing, I'll do 1,000 times this IBM thing that makes no sense,
Hmm.
and I'll rewire everything. And it's like I'll start firing everyone, even though I, as an executive, do not know what the heck those other guys are doing, right? Because they're like 3 levels down. I have no clue what they're doing, but then I'm gonna gut the company like that. Change all these processes. And the thing is, who am I going to have to make sure and do the verification that
Yeah.
the AI works and does it? I'm the
Yeah.
same people I want to fire.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, hey, document all your stuff, check this AI to see if it does your job. And then and that guy's going to do how well on that to say, yeah, let me check the AI that's going to replace my job. Let me do that for you. That will take 10 years. When I retire, I'll tell you, hey, yeah, you could do that. I'm not going to tell you that now, right? So this goes against all human nature
Yeah.
around
Yeah.
and how businesses work. You know, again, people who've been in companies to say, I mean everything. So one, most executives do not have the capability to do that. You know, Elon, he can go into Twitter, fire 90% of the people, but he's Elon,
Yeah.
right? Does Mari Barra, GM, does she have the ability to do that? No, she does not. You had just now Block, which is a payments company with Jack Dorsey. He fired 4,000 people. He went from 10,000 down to 6,000
Yeah.
because he used AI.
Right.
Again, a executive who's totally in tune with
Yes.
with the AI.
Yeah. Jack knows how to run a computer.
Right, another computer. Also, all the processes are new.
Yeah.
So all the processes are new and documented and easy to convert,
Yeah.
right? Because it's all new,
Right.
right? Not like stuff that's been around for 30, 40 years where the people who wrote the processes are dead, right? Not just old, they're dead,
Yeah.
right? So it's like they took that knowledge with them to the grave. You have to go figure it out. And it's like, oh, go figure out the COBOL. I don't know COBOL. You brought me, I'm in charge of this thing. I'm beside the COBOL, but I do not know what that thing is doing, right? And then when the AI says it's doing this, is it right? I have no clue. And then all the business process, I'm going to change everything. I don't know what our business process is. We do a thing. We always did it that way. Why? I don't know. So
Yeah, I mean, even in my little company, when we would change something that significant, you had to run in parallel for months.
right,
You kept the old system running and the new system running. So you're doing double work for months. I mean, to
right,
make sure that you didn't have any flaws. So yeah, no, I agree with you. I've been saying this for weeks now, is that I come in it with a little bit of I don't want to brag because I didn't do anything special to have this knowledge, but I worked with 400 little small companies over 18 years. There were anywhere from 0 to 25 employees. And then before that, I was already writing books about bicycle retail, every aspect of bicycle retail, and owning my own companies. And I can tell you that many of the companies that I was dealing with as a marketing consultant, you know why they hired me? Because they hated marketing. They didn't
right,
want to do marketing. Well, if you think these companies don't want to do marketing, what do you think they want to do even less? AI or anything to do with their computer systems or their bookkeeping. Man, it's like, no, not that. I want to do what I know how to do. I want to know what my skill set is. I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm a bicycle shop owner, I'm a locksmith, whatever it is. I want to do locksmithing. I don't want to touch my bookkeeping system. So no, it's going to take a long time. And it's going to take us. And the other thing, I keep saying this, nobody's paying attention to me. There is not a sales force that is trained to take people to the next level.
right,
They're not even trained to go sell AI to the 500 employee company. They're not trained to sell the AI to a 5,000 employee company. And then once you sell it, you've got to send in that service, not that service rep, that installation rep.
yeah,
You don't have those people. There's
right,
nobody out there that knows how to do that stuff yet. And when I say nobody, I mean you would need tens or hundreds of thousands of employees that were trained up and ready to do those installs. I have been on the other side of those installs when it was not so brand new,
yeah,
and the people that come in are hopeless.
right, right,
So imagine you're going to switch to this new AI thing, and you've got some newly trained guy coming in that's going to install it for you.
right.
No, sorry.
So even though, for the Dilbert thing,
Yeah,
which is representing the office thing, you hate your pointy-haired boss, right? Because he's incompetent,
yeah, yeah.
right? But his incompetence makes it hard for him to fire you,
Yes,
right?
yes,
So because he doesn't know what you're doing, right? So then if he does, but on the other hand, some of them, a percentage,
yeah,
would make a mistake. and they
Right.
would say, I think I can fire you, right? And then it'll blow up in many cases. It doesn't save, if you were on the one getting laid off, it doesn't save your job,
Right.
but it slows it down because it would send a bunch of other people, whoa,
Right.
story, I thought I might do that, but then that other guy blew up on that. I'm not going to do it,
Yeah.
right? So then it's going to be in waves. The business thing is 10% will be the one to try first.
Right.
And then some number will go good, some number will go bad.
Right.
And then the other guys will look at it and say, how good did that go? Maybe I want to try it next. Or
Yeah.
maybe I'll wait till another set of guys
Yeah.
goes
Yeah.
and then we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Right. So they will wait around because, like, if I wait around, and the other thing is for all those guys, it's also if I get rid of headcount for whatever reason,
Mhm. Mhm.
it hurts me. I'm going to downsize my
Yeah.
thing. I have an empire. I want to
Yeah.
keep this going, right? So there's reasons why they won't, they'll resist doing it,
Yeah.
right? On the other hand, if your entire company gets
Yeah.
displaced,
Yes.
right? But the thing is, some of these companies take a long time to go. Like Walmart was way better than Sears for 20, 30 years. But Sears took a few decades to circle the drain,
Right.
right? So all of these things can take time.
Sure. Sure.
Like the fact that some companies are not making as much money as they could, it's kind of like
Yeah.
happens all the time.
No, no, yeah, and again, I'll just throw one more out there, and that is you've got and I've been talking about this for, I don't know, since I started the channel. Most of the entrepreneurs right now, most of the people that own businesses right now are 55 to 65 years old. Okay, some of you even older than 65. They were the entrepreneurs. The boomers were entrepreneurs. Okay, the next generation, you see some big names that are among the millennials, that Elon Musk and, go down the list. A lot of them, the really big guys, but where did they come from? Not the United States. Half of them came from South Africa, I think. So Africa, India, I mean, Hong Kong, China, I mean, that's where they came from. So, no, this new generation, they're saying now, the Z's, might be entrepreneurial again because they're starting with such a new environment that they're starting AI companies, and so there might be that spirit again, but it didn't exist for a long, long time. So what you've got now is the aging boomers who still own the business, and if they're making $1 million a year or $500,000 a year or two, whatever, pick your number, they're going to mess with that at this stage in life? No, no, no. The fire's gone out of the belly. This is
Yeah.
just fine. Just keep it the way it is. Now my kid might come in, and start running the business at some point, and maybe he goes, "Hey, Dad, we really need to, get this new AI stuff in here." He's like, "You do it when you're in charge."
Right.
Anyway, let's take a quick look at the other numbers.
Sure.
There's only a couple of things that matter. Let's only look at the ones that matter. The bonds, as I mentioned at the beginning, really matter. And the bonds were 8 basis points down, bringing us to 3.949. Call it 3.95. That would be at least as low as it was last October. So we've completely recovered that and should continue down with that kind of momentum. I would not be surprised to see it go down again on Monday. We had gold, maybe, let's look, maybe all-time high here, darn near, like within a couple dollars of all-time high today, up 102. And silver up 7.85. That's like 3 days in a row, about 5% gains, back to $94. And finally, Bitcoin down another 1549, but still hanging in there above 65. We'll see how all that shakes out next week. Did you have any thoughts on any of that?
I think gold will continue to go up. Again, that goes to the whole the currencies are actually not that good kind of thing. So it's not necessarily a positive thing, but it's just
Yeah.
a reality thing.
A
But then
reality?
it can fluctuate. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Okay. All right. Well, let me just finish by saying the most important thing that you're going to hear all day. My book goes out tomorrow. It'll be out tomorrow. So if you want the paperback or the hardback, you'll be able to buy those tomorrow. If you want the Kindle version, you can go ahead and pre-order that tonight if you want. Tomorrow's fine too, but let's go ahead. We need a big first day. So help out the old man. And then Audible, not sure yet. It hasn't been approved yet. It should be, but probably any day now the Audible will also be available. So the information, of course, will be down in the information below, right under the information about Brian and his new venture. So, Brian, any last words of advice, wisdom, a Friday send off? I don't know,
I think looking forward to it. Like Robotaxi, Tesla's going to be great. I'm seeing that accelerating faster than most other people think, and I think SpaceX is all going to do great. So a lot of good news for us in the Tesla SpaceX world.
There you go. All right. It's been great talking to you.